So at some point in your life, you've asked yourself, why is life so hard? Now, my name is Marcus. This is Discover Ignite, where we discover possibilities and ignite change. And if you haven't done so already, please consider subscribing so you can get more content like this. Now, today I want to talk about this concept about why life is so hard. And it's one of those things that, you know, when you really started thinking about it, it's really kind of hard to understand, but yet you can see why life would be so hard, right? And what I've always thought about is, what if life was simple, right? What if everything was just given to you, right? What if every relationship that you were in, or a relationship that you're in, that first relationship that you're in, it just worked out, right? Nothing went wrong, nothing, was bad. You guys never fought, none of these things happened, right? And then also same to go with money, right? What if you had this abundance of money, right? Like, what exactly would happen? Like, you would be able to do anything you wanted to do. And when you start thinking about it this way, you're like, well, if every relationship I've had just worked out, it would feel effortless, right? Everything is effortless. Everything was just given to you. You don't see value in anything, right? It's like, if it's just given to you, it's hard to really feel motivated to do anything, right? Like, you would just essentially be, right? Everything would be colorless. there would be no desire. There would be nothing, right? Because you were given everything. And nothing holds value. When nothing holds value, it makes it extremely hard to want to deal with anything, right? Now, if you look at the hardship of achieving a lot of things, right? For the hardships of a relationship, right? To try to get a relationship to work, right? And just in general, is hard work, right? Now, initially, it may not seem that way, right? Initially, you guys may have that spark. You may go on that, what they call honeymoon stage, right? Where you guys go a couple months, maybe even a couple years, where everything seems great, right? Everything seems like everything is just perfect. And then things, for some reason or another, you start getting comfortable and you start neglecting, and then, there start becoming fights, right? And then they start becoming more frequent, and then they're just about the simplest things, right? Just the simplest things. And you find that then you have to really start working, right? It starts really getting hard because you start getting comfortable. This is for like anything. It's for relationships, it's for money, it's for your job, it's for whatever you want in life. And to think that things should just be given to you, it again loses its value. And I think that's why life is so hard. I think when life is hard, I think you always hit like newer lows, right? Like, some point you also hit newer highs. So we shouldn't think that you're only going to get the lows, right? You're going to get the highs as well. But the biggest thing to understand, I think, is that, the hardship, going through the hardship builds our character, right? It makes us stronger. And you find that those things that once were hard, right? Because I remember times like when I was younger, like, there were things that were hard that I had to get through, and it seemed like the world was ending, right? The world was going to end because of this one simple little thing. Now that I look back on it, it always looks a lot simpler than it was at that particular time, right? And when you're building character, I think these newer lows, they help, right? And they help you really see value in things. And I think some people will have harder times in life because they are not seeing the value, right? And a lot of times I think if you're given something in life, if you're going through an event and you don't learn from that particular event, I think life will challenge you again and again until you learn to value whatever that event is trying to tell you. And I think this is just the way in every aspect of life, in every category in life, right? Whether that's relationship, business, or whatever you're going through. And I think this is why hardship is important, because you see the value. And again, if you don't see the value, that particular event will continue to happen. It's almost like that movie Groundhog's Day, right? And this is why, because you want to be able to see the value. And when you start neglecting and you keep neglecting, again, you will get that lesson over and over. And so I think that life can be hard, but it's just a bunch of different lessons, right? And we need to learn. And a lot of times, again, we'll overcome a particular hardship and things can be good again, right? And then you get to that point to where I think you start neglecting. And I think it's important to continue to always challenge yourself and to try to find hardships in life, right? To see what you're made of, because I think you essentially kind of callous your mind, right? And allow yourself to overcome a lot and not take a lot of hardships so harshly, right? And be so hard on yourself and think that everything is so hard. When you overcome these things, you become a stronger person, you become a stronger individual. And again, you start appreciating stuff and really seeing value in those things that you do acquire, right, throughout your life. And I think is what's extremely important, because a lot of people, won't see value. And I think, again, if things were simple, we wouldn't, life would be very plain and lose its color, essentially, right? And I think that's what's important, is you lose the beauty in life when you don't see the value. And value is extremely important. And again, if the hardships in your life, they just seem like they're stacking up, I think there's just a lesson there that you're not learning. And that lesson has to be overcome. And then, yes, you will see times in your life that are much harder, right? Like I felt like as of late, like I've had a lot of hardship, but I think it's only because there's something grander, right? There's something bigger waiting for me on the other side. And when you come into that concept, that idea that the hardship is for a reason, it's a lesson. And I know a lot of times that it cannot seem like that, right? A lot of times it just seems like it just piles up, and we can get in this mindset to where, nothing's just gonna work out. And a lot of times you want to give up, right? You're like, man, I just want to throw my hands up and I don't want anything to do with this. I just, this is why a lot of people play the lottery, right? Is because of this concept, right? They just want to throw their hands up and be like, I'm done. I don't want to do any of this other stuff. And it's making no sense to me why everything's gonna be so hard. And again, I think that's why, right? Because if there's no value in there for you and you're just giving it to you, you're not going to see the value, and you're going to just assume that, you would just throw things to the side. You'd be essentially wasteful, right? Because that's essentially what it would be. You would just be going through the motion, and you wouldn't be enjoying it. You wouldn't see how hard it would take to perhaps hold a good relationship together for a long period of time, right? It takes a lot of work to do that. And again, if everything just worked out, you would probably get bored, right? You would probably get really bored. You'd probably get extremely bored and wouldn't know what to do with yourself, right? Like if they agree with you all the time, then you're like, well, come on, I want some kind of drama here, because our conversate, I want your opinion. I don't want just my opinion, right? Because you feel like you get frustrated with that, right? You want someone else's perspective. Sometimes I think we crave that other perspective, right? And if we don't get that, we don't always want to be validated. And sometimes I think, even though it would be nice to be validated, I think just having, specific times in your life where you're validated is good, but to be constantly validated, I don't think is a positive thing, right? And so I think hardships, again, are something that can help us become better people, right? Become a better, stronger character. And yes, there's always going to be hardships, and I don't think hardships should never go away, right? Like, especially coming from my perspective, I think hardships just are trying to teach us a lesson. And I know it can be extremely hard on some people, and it's just trying to have the mentality. And there's a lot of times you have to really drag yourself through hardships, because it can be extremely hard to where you're narrow vision, right? You're only looking every day at a time. And, this is a big thing, but I think it's worth it, right? Like, I think if you don't see the value, like it's not going to mean anything to you. And that's why life has to be hard, because again, or else it wouldn't be worth living, right? You wouldn't want to live life if there was no hardships and overcoming that stuff, because the feeling, the high that you get when you actually overcome these things, you feel like a stronger person. You feel like you're capable of more. And a lot of times, if you challenge yourself enough, if you go through enough hardships, you feel like you're looking for the next one, because you get excited about that, right? You want to find the next hardship, the next thing, the hurdle to overcome, because you're ecstatic, right? That thing really excites you. And when you overcome that, when you achieve that, you feel like bliss, right? You feel fulfilled because you've accomplished something. And it's even something that you can easily do, right? When you build something, right? Now, when you first start out building something, it doesn't seem easy, right? You don't know anything when you start building it. And then, you slowly learn your way. Perhaps you watch a YouTube video, you read up on it and you learn about it and you start building it, right? And it's extremely hard at first because you come from knowing absolutely nothing into actually building this great little thing, and then you feel a sense of fulfillment, like, man, I've accomplished that. That was me that did that. Man, I worked my butt off trying to get this and build this big old thing, and it looks so cool, right? And it does all these little things, and I did that. It's being fulfilled, right? It's showing yourself that you can do it. And then if that thing that was built, right, if it was just handed to you, how would you feel? You were like, this is cool. And then probably put it on the shelf and then wouldn't touch it ever again, right? Now, that's not to say you wouldn't do that again, or even if you did build it. But the thing is, the concept, the idea is you build that confidence, right? You build that, I did it, I can achieve because I did it, right? I learned, I taught myself how to do it and I did it. And that's ultimately what life is, right? Is you're teaching yourself along the way. You're building this life. You're building this grand old life, right? And that's where hardships really come in, is to build the life that you want. And if you just see hardship as a negative thing, you again forget and you start neglecting all these other things, and you just keep getting the same life lessons. But if you understand that you are building the life that you want, and there'll be hardships, and understand that at the end you'll be fulfilled, right? Because you've achieved this grandiose idea, right? This thought that you had in your head about what your life should be, right? And that you overcame this hardship to get there, and you feel fulfilled, right? Because that's ultimately what life is about, is feeling fulfilled. Feel like you've really achieved something in your life. Feel like you've had all these great relationships in your life, that you feel like you've perhaps opened a business and it achieved great success, and all these different things, right? And we want to continue to try to overcome and to try to steer to those hardships in our life, and see where they lead, right? Because every hardship in our life always has the opportunity, right? It's always has like that next step. And if you can find that next step and add on, right, build on to that thing, that unique thing that you're trying to build, you realize that, man, like, this is becoming a little easier, and I'm starting to build these things, and you start looking for that next piece, right? That next piece to your puzzle of life, right? And that's done through hardship, right? It's done through the hard work of researching and understanding what other piece do I need to add to my life to build this great thing, right? To build this great idea, and to feel fulfilled, right? Because that's ultimately what it's about. And I think that's essentially what hardship is a compass to building a great life, and the blueprints essentially to get us there, right? So if you enjoyed this video, remember to hit that like button on your way out. And until next time, I will see you guys later.